Hello everybody, this is Dr. Willow Ariella coming to you to discuss week 2 of the Domestic Violence and Child Abuse class. So a little bit of information, kind of a reflection about week 1 and then discussion on week 2. So in week 1 I asked you to review the syllabus, watch a video that Avon produced, look at some information that gave you an overview about what domestic violence is, who's doing it, a little bit about why they're doing it, what kinds of treatments can be available, things like that, as well as looking at some glossaries of some of the terms that can be used from different fields. And so people use a variety of terms in the area of domestic violence and child abuse. In domestic violence in particular, there can be many different terms that are used. Some are specific to a field, like you saw for the medical field and the legal field, and then some are more general. Some people use terms because they have a preference for them for a particular reason, while others use terms because that's what they're used to hearing, or that's what they know, or that's what they like to use. For example, I prefer the term domestic violence because I think it's more encompassing. I think it includes anybody who's involved in a relationship that is violent, whereas spousal abuse focuses on two marriage partners. Intimate partner abuse kind of doesn't include dating violence, things like that. So that's why I like the term domestic violence. But my use of terminology has changed over the years, and it could change some more based on new information that I learn, and hopefully you will be looking at that as well and thinking about why you prefer a particular term, or why you don't, and reflecting on that. And so also in the glossary of the medical and law information, you got a little bit of an overview about what people in those fields do to address domestic violence, and a little bit about the legal aspects of it. In week 2, I've asked you to read an article that I wrote about history of battered women's movement that is primarily focused in the United States, and then a timeline from the Minikava site that's called the Herstory Timeline, and then another site that shows you the history of the battered women's movement in Hawaii. So these articles and pieces are designed to help you get a sense of when the battered women's movement started, some of the major historical milestones in this movement are, and up to the kind of current topics in this area and the timelines of those. The Herstory website goes back to before BC, and of course you get a broader view of domestic violence because it looks at the whole planet and things that have gone on in other countries, not just the United States. And it's a really helpful timeline. Of course, it's still not all encompassing. We certainly don't have information that specific dated back to time before that. And of course, not every thing is included in that timeline, but certainly these give you a really good overview of the history of the battered women's movement as it's been come to be called. And then you got to see some specifics that have happened in Hawaii, and some of the information related to that. And so as you're reading these articles and timelines, I would like you to be asking yourself questions. And they can be, of course, a variety of questions, but some of the things that come to mind for me are, why is it that people say they love somebody and then they hurt them? Why is it that we, as a society, as a country, as a global nation, continue to hurt people who don't have much recourse? Women and children tend to be a bit more powerless, children certainly, than men. And so why is it that we have continue to have this perpetuation of violence against people who aren't taught or trained or don't have the power to fight back, either physically, emotionally, or psychologically. Why is it that people continue to hurt children who are some of the most powerless in our planet? And of course, this is by no means to say that there is not violence perpetuated against men. There's a whole other class that can be held about that topic, especially on wars and things like that. But this class does have the focus of violence that is perpetuated against women and children. So asking yourself reflective questions like these, why is it that people ask the question, they tend to ask the question, which I have a really difficult time with, of why doesn't she leave? And I really think it's reflective of kind of the way society thinks about women is, why don't we ask the question, why does he stay? Why does he keep hurting her or the children? So, thinking about and having these kinds of critical thinking questions about how people frame this concept or this behavior called violence or abuse against less powerful people, and especially people that they say that they love. And what is love, and how does that come to turn into violence? So there are all sorts of psychological, emotional, and physical questions that you can be thinking about as we continue on this course. So hopefully you got a pretty good understanding or an overview of the history of the battered women's movement, as well as some of the terminology that we'll be looking at in the semester, and reflecting on questions. And I look forward to reading your answers to the discussion questions for week 2. All right, thank you for your time and attention.